Alright, here we go. Yeah, so last time we were looking at making some of these pieces, right? And then we made our door base. So you can go up to it, right? And have it open. Everybody did get that working, right? Yeah, okay. Cool. So what we're going to try to do today is we're going to find a way to make something, send a message to the door and force it to, we're going to have it lock, right? And then we're going to have it force it to go open. At least a system to be able to do that. So having blueprints that will talk to other blueprints is very important. So like, remember that Unity stuff where you'd set up like, hey, here's the pressure pad. When I walk onto it, I want it to send a message to this other platform to start moving, or this door to open, something like that. Something the environment changes. Remember, we talked about using that system of modularity, so making things that are independent, but they can talk to each other if needed. And it doesn't matter what they talk to, as long as that there's a way for them to communicate. All right, so make sure this is still recording. Yes. Let's go to our blueprint folder here in our project. I'm going to create a new folder in here, and we're going to call this interfaces. So if you think about like a UI, right, a user interface is something that the user gets to control or interact with, right? So that's something usually pops up on screen whatnot, or on your keyboard, right? When you're typing all the keys and that's sending messages to the computer. What is that? And so if you go into your device manager, it's like HID or something like that, human interface device, right? So like mouse and keyboard. We want an interface that will talk between two blueprints. And you can do that in Unreal as a specific blueprint type. So I'm going to right click in here. And we usually click on this blueprint class button up here, but down here there's another one. And there's some other different types down here. We want to click this one. Blueprint interface. It has like a little gear next to it. And I'm going to call this BPI, so Blueprint Interface. I'm going to call this Interactive. Sometimes programmers, when they actually go into code and write this stuff, they will say I have or I has something. So like, if you, let's say that you could go up to them and then press a button and then it blows up or something. They'll be like I has blown up. I can blow up as an interface. So if you go into the game and then look for things that can do that, this is kind of like a tag almost. So if they have that, it's kind of listening on the other side for a message to be sent through that. And then it'll do something, or like I have an outline. So when I go up to it and try to walk into the trigger, an outline will pop up or whatever. And anything with that interface, that tag, can utilize those things on the same channel. So this is almost kind of like a radio frequency that you're listening on, right? So like, hey, everybody turn to channel 3, right? If we're on that channel, we can talk back and forth through that. And we're going to add this to our blueprints over here so that they can message each other. All right, so let's go ahead and double click on our interface here. This looks a little bit different from a regular blueprint, right? Yeah. So you don't actually add any logic into these. You add functions. So, for example, let's say that we are listening on this radio frequency of interactive. I want to be able to enable something, I want to stop something, or deactivate something, or I want something to run. right? So, for example, over here where it says My Blueprint Functions, that's what's here right now. Go ahead and click on this and press F2. We're going to use the first one it sets up for us. And I'm going to say Activate. Did I spell that right? Activate, yeah. Activate, right here. Yeah, and I press F2 to rename. Yeah. Now, if you click on these functions, right, you do have control over your inputs and outputs. So if you want to send something through, some sort of information, you can add an input. If you want something back, you can get an output. So for our input here, what I usually like to do is I would like to know what's interacting with this and sending the message through. So I'll say, like, for example, this is our interactor. Yeah, you could say trigger, target, something that's referring to this is what interacted with it. Yeah, right next to the input, yeah. So I just call this interactor. And then if I go here, and then I'm going to change the type of the variable. I'm going to type an actor, like that. And then the object type, we want to send us this one right here.
Actor, object type?
Yeah, actor, object type, object reference. So anything, was it a question or you stretching over there? Stretching, okay. I just make sure.
That was for
Yeah,
input,
actor.
right?
Yes, for input. And the type is object reference. You can click or create a variable type for basically just anything that's in the engine. Do what now? Did you got to click on it? You click on it? Oh, did you already get it? So it should be like a blue sphere and it says actor. Yeah. So when we want to refer to different objects or actors in the game and have it send a reference of itself to something, another blueprint, it's usually blue like this with a sphere or whatever. So remember, booleans, checkboxes, those are red. Floats and integers, those are like green, teal. Vectors are yellow, so like 3D space and rotations are purple. Anything that's blue is a reference to something in the game, whether that's a blueprint or a sound or an animation, something like that. It's usually blue and the icon will change. But this is talking about, hey, this blueprint, I want to, like put you in a little letter and then send you off and say, hey, this blueprint would like to talk to you. Who is it? Oh, it's him, that's sending the message. So we put interactor there. I'm also going to create another function here at the top, and we're going to type in deactivate.
Do the same thing for the input?
Mm-hmm. Activate, deactivate.
Do we have a name for the input?
For the activate,
Yeah.
I put in interactor. This part gets a little confusing. It's like, what should we name something that we are currently interacting with? Interactor. Interactor activity.
So is it like
2.
interactor like the actor, or is it interactor like it's interacting?
We are interacting on the interactive channel with a current interactor. Does that make sense? So, for example, if I'm trying to talk to Paul, I'm not going to send a message to him directly because he's a certain blueprint type. And let's say I also want to talk to Michael, and he's a different blueprint type. I can't send a message out and say cast to Paul. Are you Paul? Yeah. Well, Michael's not Paul, so that would fail every time. Why don't I both have them listen on the same radio frequency, and I'm like, deactivate, deactivate, and you're like, okay, and then they do that. So instead of sending it just like a very specific message, we're going to send a generic one, and then they're going to decide to do with that information whatever they want on the other end.
Aren't you trying to talk to me?
Huh?
Aren't you trying to talk
Well, because you're a different blueprint type. You're a different blueprint type. Austin does not equal Paul, does not equal Michael, does not equal
Damn right.
Eli.
Okay.
Well, I guess, yeah, Austin equals Paul, but does Austin double equal Paul?
Does Austin
Yeah, that's the
equal
question.
Todd?
I equal more than Paul.
Oh, yeah, Austin equals Todd Howard, that's right. Yes. But does Austin double equal Todd Howard? Maybe. Maybe.
Does that mean I'm better?
I don't know.
Are you gonna put D?
We are getting off track here. All right, let's
put
get
D interact.
deactivate.
Yeah, but did you change that?
Oh, no, I just didn't. When something deactivates, for the most part, I don't care what told it to turn off.
So you don't
It just
need
knows
input?
that it's being turned off. Yeah.
You don't need an input on D.
Not right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So are we not doing anything in deactivate? Just erase it?
Yeah, we're just sending as a kind of a generic message.
Okay.
I don't remember. That's what I was trying to refer back to the Unity stuff. Do y'all remember the different types that you had in the drop-down menu of what message you want to send? It said start, stop, open, wait. Do you remember all those different types in Unity? We're basically kind of coming up with those
Okay.
and making them in here. So like anything that you can think of in the world that you're doing, like, hey, let's say I go up to this computer and I want that door to lock and close. I need to come up with something in here that's kind of generic that will, like, different types of doors could use. So even if they move up and down or they swing or anything I could lock down, putting that into a little message so that I could just send it over once and it'll listen for that.
So is this the same actor type that we did before?
Which one?
We're assigning this as the same or the actor.
Are you talking about this?
Change the name and then on deactivate, yeah.
No, I don't have anything on deactivate.
Oh, okay.
Just the first one.
Right
Just the
there.
first one. Yeah. You heading out, Mr. Holden? All right. Ish. Okay. Ish. All right. So we've got those two, right? Now what I want to do is I want to click on my door here, my door blueprint. I'm going to open it up. What are you doing?
Your door blueprint, which one?
Hey, Roger.
Yeah, I forgot how
I'll
it
have to
kind
see
of
what he
works.
said. It'll probably be included later in the day.
You could check out what I posted later.
Did you put something else up?
Yeah, I posted
Is that just
everything.
read
Okay, cool.
Everything I've done today. So
And did you push the door?
I just like kind of made a ghetto.
Oh,
fix
okay.
for it.
Okay, you made it work. Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that as we get working. See you later, man. All right, so here's our door blueprint, right, and all this craziness. We need to add this interface, this radio channel, to this blueprint so that it'll listen for when things happen, like, hey, you should deactivate, you should activate, right? To do that, I'm going to click on the class settings, the little gear option on the door, or whatever you're trying to send a message to. Class
Oh,
settings.
the gear.
Yep. Now, if you scroll down here, do you see where it says interfaces?
Yeah.
Yes. This is I can't speak today. Implemented interfaces. Nothing. We're going to add one to this. See, there's already some built-in ones to the engine, but we want to use BPI. BPI Interactive. And then hit compile and save. So this doesn't look like it did a whole lot.
We're just adding BP interactive.
Yep, just BPI Interactive.
Just for a second.
Yeah.
Um, it's basically functions that you add to, and then like basically create a library of functions, and then this you just
We'll listen
call-
for it,
call
yeah.
Call the function.
Yeah, it's listening for when that happens, and then you can have different input.
For the code
Kind of, yeah.
function.
Kind of, yeah. There's a way to create a function library, so you can send functions and they'll just run from anywhere. It doesn't have to be sent to a specific blueprint. It'll just be like, hey, just do this, and you can call it from whatever blueprint you're on. It's kind of sitting up here right? This is so that as long as they're on the same frequency, I can just say, use BPI Interactive and say, I want all of you to deactivate and I want some of them to activate. Y'all could all be different blueprint types. It doesn't matter to me. I could have 10 of you, right, in a list and just bam, 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 bam. It'll send the same message, but everybody will respond to that differently. And that makes it a really nice way to communicate between blueprints. Because you're not having to figure out, I don't remember what type are you. It's like, well, the game doesn't need to know. It just needs to say, hey, send it. And if you're somebody's listening on the other side, they're going to respond. But they have to know what channel that they're listening for. Try it again. Give you an error.
Yeah, it says missing event use function 0.
Did you compile?
Did you compile this?
Yeah, I did. I'll double check that. Oh, maybe not.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just got to compile. Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right, so we have our interface, right? Now what we need to do is we need to basically import these functions, these events, into our door base. So remember last time we went and created a function over here on the left side, right? You all remember that? Like last week? So that would only be used for this blueprint, right? Because it's local. What we're going to do is you can right-click and then type event and then the name of one of these functions, right? Because we're listening on this channel now. So event, and sometimes you turn off the context sensitive. Event interact. Let's see. Nope. Activate. I'm sorry, wrong one. Sorry. Event activate. There we go. See these kind of show up right here?
Yeah.
And it says target is BPI Interactive. They usually won't show up if you don't have this here in the class settings and you compile it. So, and if you still can't see it, turn off that context sensitive box. Sometimes that gets kind of wonky.
So we created a new folder, BPI Interactive, made these 2 new functions,
Mm-hmm.
and then we could reference them in
Inside of, yeah, another blueprint. So, yeah, inside of the class settings. Yeah, and you got that. And then here's your event, right? But you see what's different about this as opposed to one of these down here? It's got the little gear icon. So that means it's an interface, and you can see it says from, and then our target says BPI Interactive. So that's where it's listening from. So whenever it receives this message, we're going to have it do this. And then there's our input. It says the interactor. So let's say the player walks onto a trigger box or like a pressure plate, and it sends a message to this. We can put the player into this spot and say, hey, this is who actually interacted with it. So if you wanted to, you could, change the property on the player or something. And you're like, hey, I sent a message over here. Maybe we can give them health or ammo, or maybe we could change another property or save this data for later, right? You can do whatever you want with it, but it's good to know who's using it. Or like if you're doing multiplayer and 2 people walk to a door, like, oh, how many people do we have in the door? We only need 1. Or if it's a certain type of game, only player 1 can interact with this or something, and player 2 can interact with that. So it's just good to know, who's talking. All right. So what I want to do in here is we want to decide what to do when we activate the door, right? So, do we want to lock it? Do we want to open it, or do we want to close it? What do y'all think?
Lock it after it opens for the first time. When we go through it.
We could do something like that. Okay. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this here, and I'm going to hook this up right there. I'm going to hook this up to the branch. This can't open once.
I don't have that.
If you don't have this part here,
Yeah, I don't have all that.
do you have this part? No? If not, just put it over here to play on the door movement
Oh, you
timeline.
didn't do once.
Yeah. So this is kind of a way for us to override the blueprint, right? This is our own sneaky little back door that we can override things, but only when something sends this message, right? Do what now? There we go. Okay, there we go. And then hit compile and save. Does anybody have any errors? No? Okay. Now, you have an error? Uh-oh. Ouch. Which one? What, this one? Do you have another event in here that has the same name? Event trigger activated. When you hit compile, what happens? Okay. So it should usually tell you if it's the same name or... did you added the interface to your class settings like that? Yeah, remember class settings, and over here where it says interfaces, we added BPI Interactive? Oh, it is in there? Okay. Yours looks like that, other than that not saying the right thing? Make sure that, did you compile this? Yeah, sometimes it won't show up if you don't. Okay, yeah, so yeah, if you ever get errors, just make sure that you compile, update, because it'll try to pull in what you just created, but it's like, I don't know, man, I don't want to do experimental stuff. I want to make sure it's actually there, yeah. All right. So this one will force it to open, right? Let's have deactivate force it to close. All right? So if I want to get this one in here, how can I do that? Yeah, I had to get good? Okay. How do I get good?
What, the input?
Yeah, how do I get the deactivate function like this into here? Right click and type what? Event deactivate.
Do the same thing, plug it in the branch.
I want to put it down here, yeah. And hit compile.
I don't have that.
Yeah, a lot of this I don't have, so I'm gonna have to go back and.
It's okay. If you don't have this, just go to reverse.
I just don't have that. I just gotta add that branch in the.
Yeah, if you don't have this, it's okay. You just hook this up to reverse.
Let me just log it, 'cause I don't even have that timeline.
You hook this up straight to there. There we go. All right. Everybody good? Any questions so far? No.
So is it locking the door, or?
Not yet, but we're gonna do that here in a minute. I just want to make sure that this part works. So this system is a little bit flexible. You can decide what you want to do with these functions and events, and if you need new ones, you can kind of create those, but the majority of them need to be in the actual blueprint that you're going to use. You don't want to make an interface and then put it on a blueprint and you only use one of them. You kind of want to be able to use all of them if possible. Alright, so I'm going to save that. So this is good, right? Now on our trigger base, this is technically a child, so I guess I could have put it on
I was
here,
doing the wrong thing.
technically, which is fine. But if you open up your trigger base, right? Whatever you're using to send a message out, you don't have to add the interface here. It's only when you're listening, right? So imagine if you go with the the DMV or whatever, and they're like, take a number, right? And when they call that number, you go up to the counter, right? And it's usually like 5,432. You wait there for 6 hours. Oh, me. Right, but you go, yeah, take a number, and when we call your number, come up. So if Austin grabs number 5,000, whatever number, you go sit and wait right until your number's called. You have one of those number cards, right? Yeah. But the person saying that number does not have one of those cards because they're not listening for it; they're telling. Does that make sense? So I don't need a card if I'm saying, I need this number to come forward, please. It's just the person listening. So
Before me is about 2,000 numbers below.
well, it's going to be a while. You're going to be there for a while.
A while.
Yeah. You may not survive being in the DMV for that long. Yeah. I hope you bring snacks. Lots of snacks. All right, so like what I was saying, yeah, so that example is like we don't have to add that interface here unless we are listening on that channel that we want to do something on it here, right? So the door is listening, whatever's sending it out, unless you're going to listen for that on here, you don't need it, right? Now what I do want to do, everybody has this part, right? Trigger activated, trigger deactivated. Everybody has that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my variables section, right? I'm going to add a new variable, and I'm going to call this activate targets. All right? And I'm going to change the type. You can do that here, right? Or you can do it over here. I'm going to change the type to actor, object reference, like this again. And just click on that, so it should turn blue, right? Like a little blue sphere. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn on the eyeball. So it makes it instance editable. Remember, it's yellow because it doesn't have a tooltip, so if you want it to turn green, add a tooltip over here. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to do get, like that. So we're going to pull whatever information is out of this and send a message to it. If you hold down Control and then drag it, that is also the same thing as doing this, drag and click get. If you want to do set, it's Alt and drag. So this little keyboard shortcut. Control drag is get, Alt drag is set. Now what I want to do, and I'm going to show you two ways of doing this. First way, we're only going to have one target. And then I'm going to show you how you can change the variable so you can have multiple, right? So activate targets, things that we want to talk to, pull a pin off, and then type in message, and then activate. Should look like that. Do you see the BPI interactive and then activate with message in parentheses?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So there's our interface message, right? And it has like a little envelope, right? We're going to send it out. We're going to send an email to whatever the target is. And what's cool about this is it doesn't matter what the blueprint here is. It could be whatever. As long as it's listening for this, which it is, it'll come over here and do something, right? And then there's our interactor, right? So over here it's kind of weird, like how is that an input? All right, that's technically an output, but when you send a message, that becomes an input. So who is sending the message?
Trigger.
The trigger is sending the message. In this case, I am going to ask it to send reference to the player. So if you come over here to the trigger on begin overlap, right? See what it says other actor? And we've already established here that, hey, is this player 1? Why, yes it is. Go ahead and do that. I'm going to send this all the way over here and plug it in. Yep. And I want to adjust my box here, my comment box. And because I'm OCD, I'm going to make this line go underneath. Right? It's not too bad, it's bothering me still. If you hover your mouse over one of these lines, right, doesn't matter if it's an execution pin, these white triangles, right, or it's one of these other variable type pins like red, blue, yeah, whatever. If you hover over it, it highlights, right? you can create a reroute node to send it somewhere else and move it around if you double click in that spot. So if I double click here, right, it'll create a reroute, and then if you have your mouse over the edge of this little yellow box, I can slide it.
I just did a thing.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I don't know what I did.
Uh,
I'm gonna screen this as read only.
are you in the interactive one?
No. Maybe?
Are you sure? I think you're in the
I
interactive.
think I am.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what I
Just I don't know. You may have.
Click on
Oh, did you double click this?
maybe?
Yeah, if you double click that, it'll take you here.
Oh, okay.
Whatever event or function you double click on, it'll take you to where that's located in the editor.
Let's close it.
Yeah, you can close that.
Okay.
Like if I double clicked on this, it'll take me to the function here, right? Go clean your room. That was from last time.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to. I think we did that last time. It said like no. Yeah.
You're grounded.
You're grounded. All right. So yeah, if you want to double click a wire, right? Create a reroute node and you can move them around. And then what I usually like to do is like if you select them, you can use the arrow keys to slide them around. Makes it real nice and easy, and you can do that with nodes too. And then one more quick organization tool. If you start getting stuff like this, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, how do I organize that? I'm going to select that, this, and that. And then you can right click on one of them, and then go down to alignment, and you can decide how you want to align it. And this one's straighten connections, and it'll go bam. And it's nice and organized.
Free blueprint organizer.
There's one that on the store or whatever. Cool. Help you kind of organize these things because they do get messy. There is that. If you ever get a chance, you're absolutely bored, go look up a site. Was it Blueprints from Hell? It's it'll make your brain hurt. Looks like spaghetti.
I looked at it.
Did you see some of it?
It was terrifying.
It was terrifying.
Idol to the god.
Do what now?
It's an idol to the god.
Yeah. Say Blueprints from Hell. Like this one. Oh God. Wait, that yeah.
Do you do this on purpose to show off?
I think some people start making art with it.
It looks like an open world map, like road trails and everything.
Like, I want to see one of these and then they actually do something. Like, people actually,
They do.
well, some of them are.
Some people like create art with it. It's kind of, I don't know.
They're
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
oh,
There's no way. There's no way.
Blueprint help?
yeah,
No,
yeah. They have some crazy stuff on
It
there.
looks more like
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
stuff.
the flying
not
spaghetti
even that bad.
monster. Yeah,
Can you go back
this
to
one's
the
not that
previous
bad.
one, sir?
Which one? This one
Previous one?
or this one? Oh,
The one that was like a scribbled mess.
this one.
Yeah, no, that looks like IT server room hell.
Oh, yeah. Does anybody want to get into networking and IT and moving cables around? Okay. I just thought I'd ask. All right. See, isn't this nice? Nice and clean? Yeah.
There's like 6 things there.
Yeah. All right. So we have this, right? So we're only sending one message out, right? So that's okay. But I want to show you how this works first, and then we'll get into the how to send out multiple, right? Let's drag in one of our trigger bases here, right? Go ahead and drag it into your map. And then if you click on it, in the details panel, you should see a new variable here, right? New option. If you don't see it, make sure that this activate targets, the little eyeballs turned on. The instance editable option. And then, yeah, drag and trigger base into the map, and then it says default targets, right? See that? There's a drop-down menu if you'd like to search for something and then link it. Or you can click on this eyedropper, or as a certain somebody I know calls it the turkey baster. You can click on it, and then it turns your cursor into an eyedropper, right? And then you can hover over things and they'll tell you what it is, right? So I can click on what I want to grab, So in this case, I'm going to click on it says pick BP door base. And then now this is linked. See that? Yeah, is that good for everybody? So what's going to happen when I walk into here? It's going to send these targets the message of activate, right? And then the door should open because we hooked that up here, right? All right. Oh crap! Where's my door, or my trigger? I can't see it. It's invisible. All right.
But
Let's.
now, it doesn't deactivate.
Yeah, it doesn't
automatically.
go down.
It doesn't activate. Aha.
Oh, no.
It does if you go up.
And now it will never go down.
I know. Never go down. So here's a challenge for you, and we're not going to do this right now. I'm going to let you guys figure this one out, maybe later. What would be a way to have it tell it, hey, I want you to go back down?
You're gonna go to the deactivate. You're gonna add in that API interactive that we did before.
Which part?
You do the thing.
Oh, okay. You do the thing?
You know
Okay.
what
You know what I'm okay. We could have another variable here. It says deactivate targets and kind of separate them out. So like if it's in this one and in that one, it'll open and close, right? Or if we just leave it in deactivate, because we could have separate sets of targets. You could have them kind of do it separately. So I want this one to open, but I don't want it to close, and vice versa. I want this to close, but this one not open. You guys separate them. Yeah, that's exactly what you said, Chris. Yeah, yeah, like verbatim. Yeah, verbatim. All right. So
But then we need a call for the actor as well.
you want the other side?
You want the input for the actor, otherwise it won't know which actor. Because right now if it gives the deactivate on the other parts.
Yeah, can we only have these?
Have,
Yeah, so we would have to create another. We can create another one of these. Right. We could do this. We could do like deactivate targets.
but it doesn't have the blueprint that we made. It doesn't have a tag for, like it doesn't have a connection, a leg for a target.
Oh, you're talking about to say, okay, you're talking about the interactor or whatever. Yeah. So if you need one, you can do that. You can add like as many inputs or outputs as you. It depends on the project you're working on. So like this is like a Lego system. Here's your kind of like basic brick. You can add or change up what you need over time. Like, hey, I need this functionality. What's nice is you only have to go in here and do it once, right, to update it, and then now all the other ones will also have that information. So for some reason I said I need a Boolean on this, right? This activate or whatever. I need one that says is used, something like that maybe. I don't know. Hit compile. See, it just pops up, and on over here it also pops up. So I don't have to go into everything that uses it and change that. I just have to do it once.
Should be in the right place.
Yeah. So it depends on what you want to use it for.
I just message deactivate
Mm-hmm.
on the other part of the blueprint.
Uh-huh.
And it does it.
Yeah, and you just have it. It'll close for you too. Yeah. And because you have both of. Do you have separate targets, or do you have just one?
Just one.
Just one. Yeah. So, if you wanted to, you could separate these out. Like these are the only things that are going to be activated when we walk into it, and these are the only things that were going to be deactivated. So, right. So we did this up here, right? How do we do the same thing except saying deactivate? How do we type that in here? Just like that. Just like that.
Message,
Yeah, message, right? We want to send an interface message. So message, and then what's the name of it? Deactivate. There it is. And then this is how you know it's going to send out something. Is there's a little envelope.
Yeah, but if you put the active target instead of the active target,
You can have it be the same thing. You can have it be the same thing. Yeah. So like I was saying, it depends on how you want to set it up. This is up to you, and this is how You know, if it's just you on a project, you can do it however you'd like, whatever makes sense to you, what's, you know, makes it easier to set up. Because at the end of the day, we want to make stuff that's real simple. You like drag into the map, and then like, I want this to talk to that eyedropper. Click, I'm done. You know, like that. Or if you make it for somebody else, same thing. You want it to be easy to use. That is our goal. That way you can experiment with like the actual gameplay and stuff, and see what's engaging and whatnot. We don't want to spend too much time trying to set up a door and then realize this isn't very fun. You know, we want to get to that quicker. Okay, so next step, I'm going to be mean and we're going to undo what we just did. Sort of. If you come up here, let's do the top one first. I'm going to unhook this. So if you hold down Alt and click, it'll unhook it, right? And I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to go wee and slide it over with the arrow keys. Okay? And then I'm going to delete this guy right here. So there's no more activate target references in the map, right? There's a way to check and see which things you're using in your blueprint. You can right click on something or a component or a variable and say find references, and it'll show you every time that's being used. You're like, hey, do we have any more of these in here? I don't know. Find references. Nope. Do we have any deactivate targets? Oh yeah, we do. And then double click on it and it'll take you to where it is. So if you need to find where it's being used, you can just right click on it. We've got some options how to find it. All right. Now what we're going to do, we're actually going to change this variable type to be singular, and we're going to make it into multiples, right? And in code, they refer to that as an array. Has anybody heard that before in programming? An array is basically kind of like a list, sort of. So instead of having just one, right, we're going to make it into multiples. So to do that, if you click on your variable, right, and then come over here to the details panel, see the little shape on the right side? Click on that, and then see all the different types here? Look for the one, array. Click on the one that looks like a grid of 9 squares. It says array when you hover over it, right? And it changes this into a blue grid of 9, right? Right here? Not yet, not this one. It's on the right side. Yeah, there you go. So now it's a grid. There you go. So over here on the left side, right, it says there's a grid. Yeah. So this is an array. I'm going to take this and drag it into here and do get. Again, if you already have it in your blueprint, it's going to throw you an error because we changed the type and it's like, I don't know what to do anymore, so just delete it and then try again. But see how this has a different, it's not a circle anymore, right? It's like a little ring of squares. It's an array. I want to pull a pin off, right? So when you do programming, one of the first things they teach you is called a loop, right? And what we're going to use for this one specifically is for each loop. So when you want to tell a list of things, please do this, I want to go to each one and say, do that, do that, do that, do that, until it gets to the end and it stops. So for each of these things, I want to keep looping and saying activate until there's no more, right? So when you have an array, instead of just sending, you know, like the other one, just sending a message, and type for each loop, like that. And hit enter. So it's going to look like this. So it doesn't matter if I have 2 targets or 10,000, which is probably too many things to add into a single array. I don't know. It doesn't matter how many, but for each one, we want to grab the element, right? and we want to do something with it. So we're not going to actually use this over here, so don't change this part. This is just an example. Don't click this. I just wanted to show you. Right here it says activate targets. If you needed to, you could add elements to this, right? So let's say I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements, and let's say I wanted to assign them right in the map. What number does it start counting at? So if there's 5 array elements, the first element is number what? What's the last one? 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's kind of weird, right? I'm going to get rid of that. If I were to pull a pin off of here and I want to find the first, second, third, I want to find the third element in this array, what number is that? 2. 0, 1, 2. So I could type get, right? You don't have to do this, I'm just showing you an example. I could type get and then type in a number here, right? 0, 1, 2, that's element number 3. The index of which number it's on, like 0, 1, 2, 3, is here, right? And this is the actual thing that we want to send a message or talk to, right? So for each target, I want to activate it, right? And then I want to connect that to loop body. So when you get to a for each loop or a for loop, right, it's going to go bam, 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 bam. Okay, we're done. I'm going to go to completed at the very end, right? This is something you have to be careful about because I always forget to do this. Let's say you do all these things and then afterwards I want to finish it, right? And I want to do something else. Make sure that goes to completed. We've had instances before you hook it up here and there's like, hey, after it's done, I want to play a sound effect. But I accidentally hooked it up here, so it goes because there's like 10, 20 things in here, and it just there's really, you could put, let's see, can you put a delay in here? Sometimes these don't like delays. Like if you put them in between here, it just kind of like loops for all of them and just bam, bam, bam through the list. So delays get a little bit funky. But yeah, when it's done, it'll go to completed, right? I'm going to set up the same thing down here. I have a deactivated targets variable, which I am also going to set up here. How do I change this to be an array instead of just a singular? What do I click on?
To make it what?
An array. How do I change this to be an array? I click over here and change it to the grid.
Yeah. And what does that specifically do?
It changes it from being just one variable to being, you can put multiple things in it.
Okay.
And it'll make a lot more sense when we get into the level itself. Okay, so I have this here, and I'm going to hide that so I can challenge you. What do I hook up here?
To the deactivate target?
How do I go about going through all of them?
Branch?
For each. And then what do I hook up to deactivate this one? Loop body. So every single thing in here, we're going to say deactivate, deactivate, deactivate. And then what goes into the target? Array element. Yay. Everybody knows how to match the colors. Yay. Best part about blueprints is they're color coded. So.
I would put the loop under and a little bit behind the loop so that you want confused with the completed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you could do that. So like when it's done, it just makes sense for it to go that way. Yeah, you could do that.
Otherwise, it feels like the flow is.
I know, because yeah, you keep going, oh, look, where's this going? Here, here, there, this. Oh my god.
Put them in a different comment box.
Yeah. Just kind of end it right there. I usually what I do is just like come down. Yeah, like that. Okay. Does everybody have this? No?
I'm gonna just
You're getting
redo
there.
it
You're
once
gonna, okay.
we get
Alright.
ready to do this.
Yeah. This is still recording. Good. I don't, yeah, the cable was coming out and it lost
Except
its
on already the other two we did, so I'm
USB.
just rewatch them 'cause my project's
Okay.
all junk.
Hmm?
So.
I like the video.
Does that help? Okay.
My project's all junk, so I'm about to just rewatch
Hopefully
them.
the audio on this one will be better. I'm trying to speak a little bit louder this time. It's right in front of my face.
It wasn't bad.
Hello. There we go.
Kill everybody with headphones.
Yeah, it is. What is that? It's that scene from oh, what's the movie with Jim Carrey and the other guy, and they go around and when they had a dog grooming business.
Oh,
Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? They had the Half-Life Gmod idiot box. They have that one. They had the scientist come up to Alex. He's like, "Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?" And then she smacks him with a wrench, and then runs off down the hallway. And the door opens. And he goes, and there's his head, and like bullets fly everywhere. This is goofy. All right, so that's all working. All right, this looks a little bit different, right? Inside of the map, if you click on your trigger base, right?
Yeah.
We don't have an option anymore to like with the little eyedropper, right? It's gone. Like, what happened? It's gone. Well, it's gone because instead of just interacting with one thing, we can interact with however many we want. So whenever you're sending out interface messages, I usually recommend making them into an array. And that way, it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 5 or whatever, you just, bam.
So it's making an array what you did in the...
Yeah, change it into a grid.
Change it into a
Yeah.
grid. Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
So now, see I have 2 doors now, and I want to use 1 trigger box, right?
Yeah.
So on activate targets, I'm going to do 1, 2.
Okay.
Or, you know,
So that's how you would get in a game
Yeah.
with, like, you go on one switch, and that switch opens 2 doors. Okay. Okay, I see now. That's cool.
so I'm going to do 1, 2, right? Eyedropper, that one, eyedropper, this one. What's nice about this is there's a little magnifying glass, right? Whenever you see a magnifying glass in Unreal, it'll take you to where that entity is inside the content browser.
Oh, okay.
So, or I'm sorry, inside this one, it takes you to where it is inside the map. Yeah.
So it's using that eyedropper, is that pretty much the same as when in Unity you did put the pressure plates down and you told it what door it's affected?
This is the same thing. Yep. Like, hey, what do you point? What do you point to?
What is this affected?
That's why I usually put something that says like targets or this or that, right? Yeah. So this, when I walk through this, it's gonna open both of these doors, right? And then I'm gonna make it when I leave, it's only gonna do that one. So let's try this. Ta-da! And when I leave, only that one.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I separated them out into activate and deactivate, right?
Okay, I see what that's for. So, like, if you're gonna have a switch that turns on all the lights in the house, you kind of do it that way.
Right. And what's best part about this, it doesn't matter what blueprint it is.
Oh.
You can add that interface to whatever.
Oh yeah.
So,
Have like a thing that turns on and then sends a counter to count how many things you turned on.
yep. So let's say y'all ready to speed blueprint? Speed blueprints. We're gonna make an exploding box. On your mark, get set, go. Blueprint class, actor, BP underscore, no, not bop, BP underscore, explodo box, enter, save 3 times, static mesh, box. It's okay, I told you all this is a speed, I'm trying to do it. Cube, I'm gonna put it above the floor, because we're cool like that. Compile, good, I appreciate that. We're gonna go to class settings. I'm going to add the interface here, so BPI, interactive. Compile. Austin, are you here? You keep them up? Oh, thank you. Moral support. Get rid of all that. Compile, save. See, I'm waiting for the day when people start making like silly tutorials, just like you get in and they're just as fast as they can go, doesn't make any sense, and at the end it doesn't work, and they're like, all right, see you all in the next video. I feel like that's half of YouTube, though. All right, so this part here,
Like any programming tutorial?
yeah, at the very end of it, they go, we'll figure this out later. Let's go to something else. It's like a newscast. All right. Well, they can't hear us right now. We're gonna go to the next story here.
Also, you're
Yeah.
using a different version of Java than yourself.
Yeah. All right, so I have my interactive script in here, right? How do I add the activate event? What do I do? How do I add that into here?
Wait, do what now?
How do I add the activate interface message into here? Right click, yeah, so I added interfaces into class settings, and then event, activate, right? And then when it receives the message, I want to play sound at location, and I probably should turn this down. Get actor location. I'm dyslexic. It came out backwards. Sound effects. Explosion. Spawn emitter at location.
Podcast? Yeah, how you know?
Get actor location. We want to spawn explosion, right? And then we want to destroy actor. Hooray.
Still doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means so much. All right, so we're going to open these doors and then blow up all of these boxes at the same time. And I'm going to turn the volume down.
Turn it up.
I'll turn it up.
Everything dies.
Now, this would be something that I would usually do is like you throw all the boxes into there and you're like, great, and you hit play and you realize I didn't attach them to this. Oops. So I want to add, what, 4 more? I'll make this easy. I'm going to do 3. 1, 2, 3. You. And then you. And then you. First try. Drum roll. This sounds like that, yeah. Yeah. National Lampoon. Boo. Joy to the world. All right. I can see. All right. Oh, I had the volume was turned down. That was very anticlimactic. All right. How about now? Yay.
That was more like a poof.
Okay, now. See how many times I've walked through it?
Yeah.
I'm actually adding errors to this list.
Are you serious?
Yep.
What? Oh, I see on the top. Oh,
No, that's something else. That says go goodbye, go clean your room. Why do you think I'm adding? I know I'm going to get errors. Do you know why?
Why?
Anybody?
There's nothing in the
actor.
There's no actor to send a message to
Oh, okay.
because those boxes I destroyed them. Right? So, aha. Oh God. What does it say? Attempted to access Exploded Box 2 via Dynamic Cast Interactive is pending kill.
Yeah,
So you have to do it once or only do once?
So, I need to add something in here that prevents the game from going and sending a message when it does not exist.
So is that just like wasting CPU power?
No, 'cause it actually throws an error because that doesn't exist. And then when you stack up your errors, that actually, over time, it'll decrease performance of the, at least what I've seen so far. I mean, you could go and ask a programmer, but it's good to avoid those, right?
Yeah.
So what I need to do is in between here, I need to make sure, hey, do you actually exist? And if not, let's not send anything, right? So I'm going to slide these over like that. Slide them over. And what I want to do in between, it's called an is valid node. So I can pull a pin off. We want to see if this blueprint is actually in the game. Because if it's not, then I don't want to do anything. So see if you can find that.
Which one? Function or the question mark?
It's the one with the question mark. You can use the other one. You can use this one, but then you'd have to add a branch to it. And this already has a branch, basically, because there's both. So I like using this one. And then I'm going to add a reroute node, because that bothers me when it goes through like that. There we go.
So is valid should have 2 going. Okay.
So, and it says if it is valid, it does exist in the game. Go ahead and do that. And if it's not, don't do anything. And then all those errors go away. Those are usually the ones that I forget, but yeah, those don't exist anymore, so you can't talk to something that doesn't exist.
Oh, well, we'll see.
We'll see about that. Does anybody play Destiny 2, Crucible, or anything like that? Crucible sucks. What's his face? He always taunts the other team or whatever. He was like, "You can't defeat their enemies if they're dead." They can't fight you if they're
That's your two thoughts.
Well then, Austin's throwing shade. Shade. Keep talking.
Can you show again where you edit the calling the function, like where you edit the channel?
Oh, on which part?
On the trigger.
On the trigger.
On the TNT.
Oh, where I edit it to here. Oh yeah, and I went to class settings. That's how you add the what channel it's listening on. And then once you add that, it's listening for everything that's in here, and then you just add the ones that you need, which should be all of them. Once you add your interface, you have to hit compile, otherwise it won't show up. And then right-click, type event, and then you can type whatever is in here that you need, and then use it however you'd like. And see, we could add another 100 blueprints that all use this system, and each one of them you could add the interface, add whatever you want afterwards, and they all do something different. So that door opens, this blows up. This ragdolls, this gives you coins. This plays an animation. This plays a sequence, like a cutscene or whatever you want. I guess.
Hey, the door base is an active one, right?
Yes. Everything we've used so far is an actor blueprint. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about how that works for getting blueprints to talk to each other? And we're mainly doing this for level scripting, like what y'all took the stuff into the map and have them talk to each other and whatnot, right? If you dive more into the blueprint stuff and doing really specific things, there's different ways of talking to each other, like casting and whatnot. But yeah.
For like pressure pads and stuff.
Yeah. So let's say Tay was talking. If we want to create a pressure pad, we could make a blueprint based off of trigger base, and then have like an actual, it goes up and down.
So you would create the pad, and then you put that trigger base basically just like on top of it.
You could do that, or you could have it based off of this one. Like right-click and create a child blueprint class. It inherits all these properties, all the things we have in here, in there. So like, yeah, let's do that real quick. Create BP underscore pressure pad. Is that what we're doing? Yeah. Pressure pad. Right. See, all this stuff is inherited. It's running everything inside of here. All this stuff is still here. Hang on. Did I do the right one? Yeah, I did. There we go. I'm not seeing... Oh, that's weird. Hang on. Sometimes things like don't show up like they're supposed to. Did I do that right? Yeah. Trigger base. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's there. If I drag that in.
You only have
Okay, yeah.
2 videos uploaded for this semester, right?
2 or 3, yeah, 2 or 3. I didn't do the first one, but I have the last 2 weeks, and this one will be up there as well.
For the last 2 weeks is what you.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so let's say, here's our pressure pad blueprint. I just right-clicked on a trigger base, create a child blueprint. It's inheriting all the properties of its parent, right? But in this one, I could say maybe there's a no. Hey, we're recording, man.
Oh.
Demonetize. Yeah, I don't. Hopefully, it didn't pick up what you just said. Yeah.
You only listen for like the first 30 seconds.
I know, but this is also for like school. Oh, that's kind of big. Let me do like, I don't know.
You can just hire somebody or something.
Yeah, I guess.
Bleep it out.
Oh, whoops. That's not the right number. Whoops. Let's try that again. I'll do it like 2 by 2 by 0.25, something like that. I'll do 0.5. That's fine. Right, so there's kind of like the button or whatever, right? And then I'll make another one. Actually, I can just duplicate this. And we'll call this one the base, right? Right? And I'll make that, I don't know. Yeah. Kind of needs to be like red or something, I don't know. What do we got on here? Got some other sample materials. Ooh. Is there a... What in the world? Color grid low spec. Okay. A lamp. Ooh, we can make it metal. Ooh. Ooh. Ah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Alright. So yeah, there's our stuff there, and then you can decide whether stuff has collision or whatever. I'm actually gonna change the box here to fit that cube. So, oh, first try. Excellent. Yeah. So that's the actual trigger, right? Because that's inherited from the other one, and we just added our extra components to make it like a pressure pad.
With the pressure plate, didn't you want that trigger box to be really low? Almost touching it? Or like almost
Yeah, we could move it down if we wanted to. Like, you don't want it like this, like right there.
so that you could just jump over it and select it.
Yeah. All right, so there we go. It's kind of a box, and then I'm gonna get rid of this one, right? So this one we can actually see, right? And then, ta-da! Oh, yeah. Doesn't do anything, right? But see, it's because it's a child blueprint. We still have all the same properties. So we just need something to start with, and then we can make whatever else bases after that. Maybe this one, you stand on it and it just works. Maybe there's one you have to stand on it and stay.
It just works.
It just works. Yeah. See, thank you, Todd Howard. It just works. Just work. What are you saying?
Can you believe he was actually in crazy?
Kind of.
Because if I want to put the pressure pads, I would
Even though you
send
know,
a message to itself to go where
I kind of never joined the chess club.
You could do that.
It's a
Yeah,
sport
you could.
purely for jocks.
Like, yeah, if, let's say, inside of the trigger base, we actually included the interface here, right? And say activated, like, hey, what do you want to do when you activate, right? We could do that. Yeah, so there's our pressure pad, and then let's do the same thing. Let's do that. And I'm going to explode just this box. Right. So now it looks like a pressure pad. Alright. Here's our pressure pad. And if we wanted to, like using the stuff we did last time, right, with timelines, you could add a timeline in here for doing the movement up and down. So like, let's say when I walk onto it, this, which one is it? This one? The pressure plate? Yeah. And then remember we added this part, right? The override function. So I want to send these messages out, but this is the one that actually happens on the pressure pad itself, right? So I can override. Which one is it? That one? Yeah. So this is because it's the same blueprint. I'm just saying, hey, this happened. So when that part runs, instead of saying that, we can say, hey, I would like you to do that timeline stuff, right? Movement, speed timelines here. Alpha, add a key. 1. We're just making a timeline real quick, just to visualize this. So let's, if we wanted to, it plays this, right? And then this is the blending. So this is a lerp like we did last time, remember? We want to blend from A to B. And then, I don't know, what is this currently at? Oh, where's my details panel? Oh, what, did I close it? Oops.
10.
What's it at now? Yeah, 10, and then we want to go down to like 10 to 0 or something like that. Yeah. Start at 10, go to 0, right?
Something where it's noticeable.
Yeah, and then set, was it relative, right? Relative location. Shh. All right, and then we want to adjust that, right? And then when we leave, override deactivated. So this is basically what you were talking about. Oops. Eli. This is kind of the same thing, except instead of using the interface to itself, I'm using the one that we did last time and overriding it. Because this is already technically a trigger. We're just saying, hey, do this, and then over here we're overriding that. So when you enter it, it plays it, goes back, it'll go down, right? And it goes between this and this value. So it starts at 10, goes to that, and then it'll go back to 10. Cool. So let's try that. See it move a little bit? It's very slow.
You set the time on that?
Yeah, so remember we could set the time on here, or we could drag the timeline component into the graph and say set play rate, and then you could control the speed from here, right? So let's say if you just promote it to a variable, this is how fast, like a multiplier. So if it's 0.5, it'll be half as fast as 2. It'll be real fast, right? And then I'm going to change this to 1 by default. Whoops. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I goofed. Oh, no. Window, toolbar. Can I get rid of it? No. Well, I don't know. I dragged something. What the heck?
Control Z.
Get rid of that blueprint. Pressure pad. Oh, thank God. I don't know. Sometimes if you accidentally drag something, it'll mess it up. Okay, so that was 1, right? Yeah. So and the eyeball is turned on. So in here, there's that. Yeah, the move speed. So if that was twice as fast or 3 times as fast, I'll walk onto it. Right. There it goes. Yep.
Oh yeah.
And then that would be a good way to tell when you walk off of it too, right? Like if you had something that's go back down, please, you know. So yeah, so you can tell that there's a difference.
Yeah.
So just kind of taking those elements that we have to come up with quick gameplay, or using what a programmer has, taking some stuff that you make, you know, an artist doesn't have to worry about. And then we can make some interesting stuff, right? So whether it's for a platformer, maybe like this, or a puzzle game, or something a little bit, you know, more action-oriented, doesn't matter. Use the same elements and see what you can make. Does anybody have any questions?
How do you do shortcut for branch? Never mind.
B. B and left click. So interfaces are basically just, it's a radio channel, radio frequency to send across. And it doesn't matter what's on the other side, as long as it's listening, you can have it send.
The complete doesn't need to go anywhere though.
If you need to have it completed, you can hook up whatever you need to here.
Why would you need it?
Because if you wanted a series of logic to keep going this way, so for example, let's say that you want to spawn. Let's say that you have like these are the types of enemies that I want to spawn when I walk through a trigger.
Right.
I want to spawn all of those, and then I'm going to start a timer, and then I'm going to spawn another set.
Okay.
Or something. I want to keep going with my logic, but I just want to loop it, do all that logic here.
Okay.
So completed is just let you know you can keep going if you want to.
Okay.
That's why Eli was saying it's, you know, you might think about where you place these, so because these are vertically aligned. See, we just did that alignment thing, the alignment video. Smart. Using that, I forget what that GIF is where he's pointing. Yeah.
Talking about the guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Was that the Eddie Murphy one? Was he's pointing at us? Yeah. So yeah, the thing of alignment we talked about earlier. So if these are aligned here, and we're moving vertically, these are on the same space, so the only direction here we have this completed. So,
Okay.
good thinking. Cool. Any other questions?
Not at the moment.
No? Okay.
Watch
Yeah, so I'm going to upload this, and hopefully you guys can use this into some interesting ways, and we're going to take a break.
Yeah, I'm stressed out.
Yeah, you guys take a break, and we'll see you next part.